like to call the regular meeting of the McKinleyville Community Services District for Wednesday, April 3rd at 6 p.m. to order. Joey, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. President Bender.
Yes.
Director Beitman.
Here.
Director Couch.
Here.
Director Mayo.
Here.
And Director Orsini.
Present.
Okay, thank you. I would now like to ask Director Orsini to lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Please stand.
I'll be honored. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, agenda item A2, closed session discussion. At any time during the regular session, the board may adjourn to closed session to consider existing or anticipated litigation, liability claims, real property negotiations, license and permit determinations, threats to security, public employment appointments, personnel matters, evaluations of discipline, labor negotiations, or to discuss with legal counsel matters within the attorney-client privilege. We do have a closed session item to discuss today, and that is on agenda item A21, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9D2. One case, the claimant is the Yurok Indian Housing Authority. At this time, I'd like to ask the members of the gallery and other non-essential personnel to leave for the lobby until such time that you're summoned back in, and we shall continue. Thank you for your patience. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. We are now out of closed session. General Manager Kaspari, could you please report out?
The board voted to reject the claim with a motion by Director Orsini, a second by Director Mayo. Director Orsini voting yes, Director Couch voting yes, Director Binder voting yes, Director Mayo voting yes, and Director Bite voting yes.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Okay, are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'll call for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Joey, would please call the roll?
Director Bender.
Yes.
Director Beitman. Yes. Director Couch.
Yes.
Director Mayo.
Yes.
Director Orsini.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. B, public hearings. These are issues of a quasi-judicial or legislative nature. Public comments relevant to these proceedings are invited. Item number B1, which is the public hearing on proposed assessment and formation of streetlight zone 105 and consider adoption of resolution 2024-08 for Washington Terrace streetlight zone. And that'll be presented by Pat Kaspari.
Thank you, President Binder. JLF Construction recently completed the construction of the 40-lot Washington Terrace subdivision. Mr. Furtado represents a majority of the property owners within the proposed streetlight zone and is required to form an assessment zone as a condition of development. The streetlight assessment zone allows the district to perform the role of owner and collection agent regarding maintaining the facilities and paying the monthly PG&E charges for the streetlights to be installed in conjunction with the development. The developer has constructed the necessary streetlights to district standards and has dedicated the completed facilities to the district. The district board approved the initiation of the streetlight zone at the February 7th, 2024 board meeting with the approval of resolution 2024-04. Attachment 2 is a stamped engineer's report detailing the expected monthly costs for the assessment district and a site plan showing the approximate locations of the streetlights. Attachment 1 is a draft resolution 2024-08 forming the zone. Pursuant to Proposition 218, the process included preparation of an engineer's report and ballot. The engineer's report and ballot were mailed to the developer as the majority owner of the properties included in the proposed streetlight zone. The ballot was returned with a vote in support of the proposed assessment. Attachment 3 is the completed ballot packet, which included Attachment 2, Exhibit A, detailing the expected monthly costs for the assessment district, and Attachment 2, Exhibit B, a site plan showing the approximate location. So staff recommends that the board review the pertinent information, open the public hearing process to accept ballots and/or protests related to the formation of the streetlight zone, close the public hearing, accept the final tally report, and since there is only one eligible ballot for the streetlight zone, which is included as your attachment 3, accept any additional public comment, and then adopt Resolution 2024-08 for formation of the Washington Terrace Streetlight Zone number 105 by title only and by roll call vote.
Okay, thank you, Pat. I'll now open the public hearing process to accept ballots and/or protests related to the formation of this streetlight zone. Since there is only one ballot that was cast, that being by the property owner developer, Jim Furtado, we have received that ballot. It's included in the board packet and also published online. Since 100% of the ballotees have chimed in on this, we'll now close the public hearing process and accept the final tally report shown on attachment 3. And I'll now accept public comment from the gallery. Anyone on Zoom, please signify by raising your hand. Hearing no public comment, I'll call for a motion to adopt this resolution.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion, a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Joey, would you please call the roll?
President Binder,
Yes.
Director Beitman,
Yes.
Director Couch,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
Director Orsini.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That one is passed. Okay, moving on to item B2, which is also a public hearing. Public hearing on proposed assessment and formation of open space maintenance zone number 29, and consider adoption of resolution 2024-07 for the Washington Terrace Open Space Management Zone. Pat?
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, President Binder. As just discussed, JLF Construction developed the 40-lot Washington Terrace subdivision. JLF Construction represents the majority of the property owners of the proposed open space maintenance zone and is required to form an assessment zone as a condition of the development. The subdivision is currently under development. JLF Construction requests the open space management zone be formed by the district, but at this time has requested MCSD delay in assuming the responsibilities of maintenance for the open space maintenance zone and charging fees until after some of the subdivision lots are sold. The open space maintenance zone allows the district to perform the role of maintaining it after the developer has constructed the improvements to district standards and has dedicated the completed facilities to the district. Attachment 2 includes a stamped engineer's report detailing the expected monthly costs for the assessment district and a site plan showing the approximate location of the open space maintenance zone. Attachment 3 is a completed ballot packet with the public notice. Staff has posted the notice of this hearing, has mailed the notice to the developer, and the developer has returned the ballot. So staff recommends the board review the pertinent information, open the public hearing process to accept the ballots and/or protests related to the formation of this open space maintenance zone, close the public hearing, accept the final tally report, and since there is only one eligible ballot and it is an affirmative vote, and then accept public comment and adopt resolution 2024-07 for the formation of Washington Terrace Open Space Maintenance Zone number 29 by title only.
Thank you, Pat. I'll now open the public hearing process to accept ballots and/or protests related to the formation of this OSMZ. And since there was only one eligible ballot issued, it was returned in the affirmative as published in the board packet. I'll close the public hearing process now, accept the final tally report as there is only one eligible ballot, and accept public comment at this time. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to this issue in the gallery, on Zoom? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion to adopt this resolution.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Joey, would you please call the roll?
President Binder,
Yes.
Director Beitman,
Yes.
Director Couch,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
and Director Orsini.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, C, public comment and written communications. Any person may address this board at this time on any subject not identified on this agenda but within the jurisdiction of the MCSD. However, any matter that requires action will be referred to staff for a report of action at a subsequent committee or board meeting. As to matters on the agenda, an opportunity will be given to address the board when the matter is considered. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, and letters should be used for complex issues. Is there anyone in the gallery or on Zoom who wishes to address the board in the period of public comment? Sir, please step up to the microphone, state your name and where you live.
My name is Richard Mayer. I'm the staff accountant for the Big Lagoon Community Services District. We're an aging district, very small. We have 42 connections, 38 within our district, 3 outside, plus we also provide water to the Big Lagoon Elementary School. Because of the size of our population, which is about 60 permanent residents total, we're having a hard time filling positions and being able to get things done. So what we've asked for you to take a look at would be to provide us with some services that we need. Administrative type bookkeeping, meter reading. We do use a Badger system, which I understand you also use here. Billing, collections, some government reporting. Then we also have a water operator who has been doing it now for 9 years, but his license is going to be up in 2027. So we're basically looking for any kind of support services that the board might see fit to provide for us before we go out into the sort of open population to provide those services to us. I've included just some information, some financial information. The good news about our district is we are financially solvent. We currently have 0 debt. So we have the ability, in essence, to pay for these services, which are more than willing to do that. And we would like to, if you're interested in doing that, is enter in negotiations to be able to provide those services at whatever the appropriate rates are going to be and approved by our board. We do have one resident who is part of your staff who is our resident at Big Lagoon. So that's another issue that would need to, I guess, to be addressed. Other than that, thank you very much for your consideration. And
Okay, thank you very much. What we can do here is, since this is a complicated issue and that we can't do anything right now at this meeting, I'd like to direct staff to agendize this item for discussion at our May board meeting. Is that satisfactory to you? Thank you.
And coordinate with maybe some representatives from Big Lagoon Services District to be here to be able to answer questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I wanted to suggest that as well. Thank you.
Okay.
And we might want to try to elicit you to join Aqua.
Maybe. All right, Lisa.
Good evening, Chair or President Binder and MCSD Board. I had the pleasure of playing pickleball today at your facilities, and I wanted to report, although I know you will get a report at some point, that there were 33 people there playing pickleball this morning. It was quite crowded and used, so very appreciative of you maintaining the facilities, excited that there will soon at some point be an outdoor court, and hoping that some miracle happens and some money falls from the sky and you'll be able to put in that second court. So thank you.
Thank you.
Where's the pickleball at? At the teen center? Oh, the teen center. Yeah.
Right over there. Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to address the board on a matter not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along to the consent calendar. Consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial, to be acted upon by the Board of Directors at one time without discussion. If any board member, staff member, or interested persons requested an item be removed from the consent calendar, it shall be removed so that it may be acted on separately. Is anyone want to remove any of the items from the consent calendar?
Yeah, I would like to pull item D2.
Okay, item D2 will be discussed separately. We have any other reaction on this item? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for a motion to accept the consent calendar minus item D2.
I move to accept consent calendar minus item D2.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Joey, call the roll, please.
President Binder,
Yes.
Director Beitman,
Yes.
Director Couch,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
and Director Orsini.
Yes.
Thank you. Revisiting item D2, consider approval of February 2024 Treasurer Report. Greg?
Yeah, thank you. I just, in reviewing the financial report, I noticed that using the charts, on what page that's on, page 38, that the general fund, that we'd been running consistently over budget for the whole, since last July, and I thought it might have just been kind of was a little bit, was just a little bit above, and then it seems to getting exponentially higher, and so I just would like to have just a brief discussion from staff on why that is, and what we might do to fix that, remedy that.
And I can address that. Parks and Rec Director Frisbee and I and interim finance director Trask talked about this, and it's mainly related to the professional charges for the Measure B assessment. You can see it really jumps up in October when we were pushing the final Measure B ballot, et cetera. So it's the professional costs associated with that. We can't charge those, of course, to Measure B since they were directly related to the 218 process for Measure B. Director Orsini has pointed out, and correctly, that we should do a May revise. So next month, we'll likely come back with a revise to readjust the Parks and Rec budget to accommodate those changes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other member of the board wish to speak to this?
So are we done? I'll move to approve D.
Director Biden?
Oh, sorry.
I think I understood what you said, Pat, but I'm not sure that I understood. The costs involved in preparation for the ballot on Measure B were, and I don't understand whether they were erroneously included, or whether the budget was not accounting for it, or where I don't get a clear picture of where the disparity lies. And you'll forgive me. I'd like a little more. I'd like some clarification on that.
So staff was not completely aware of the extent of the cost for the consultants when we put together the budget for Parks and Rec in last fiscal year. We seriously underestimated that cost. And so that's what's showing up as what's over the line for what was budgeted.
Okay, and the proposed remedy is?
We need to revise the budget to accommodate those costs. You can see that the Measure B budget in the chart on page 39 is currently running below budget. So those, we can't move those professional things to the Measure B budget, but we can move other items from the Parks and Rec budget to the Measure B budget. So we'll make up some of the changes there. Otherwise, they're at the end of luckily, we're only a few months from the end of this fiscal year, but it might require other adjustments in the Parks and Rec department as well to make it through till June 30th.
One last question. Does this impact the activities of Parks and Recreation Department?
Impact the activities? I missed the last part.
Does this have an, does this? I don't, the transfer of expenses, et cetera, does this in any way impact the work or the activities of Parks and Recreation Department? Or is it simply a bookkeeping process?
So when we come back with the May revise, we'll be able to demonstrate any potential impacts. I can't answer that question.
Okay,
right
thank
now.
you.
Any other
That's it.
questions
That's it.
or comments from the board?
Just one comment.
Okay, Greg.
Yeah, thank you very much for clarifying that. I very much appreciate it.
Likewise.
Okay, well, that be that, okay. I will call for a motion to approve item D2 from the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Joey, would you please call the roll?
President Binder,
Yes.
Director Beitman,
Yes.
Director Couch. Yes. Director Mayo,
Yes.
and Director Orsini.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Item E1, consider approval of ordinance 2024-01, amending regulations 46, 48 pertaining to the McKinleyville Community Forest. Second reading. And this will be presented by, I assume, Ms. Kirsten.
Yeah. So, elephant in the room, I am not Leslie Frisbee. She is out sick today, caught whatever bug is going around. So I'm filling in, so go easy on me because it's my second time doing this. Okay. On March 6, 2024, the board held the first reading of ordinance number 2024-01, amending regulations 46 through 48 of the district's rules and regulations to include regulations for the formation of the McKinleyville Community Forest, hereafter MCF. For the McKinleyville Community Forest Standing Committee, as well as regulations for public use for the MCF. The amendments made and track changes can be reviewed in Attachment 1. Ordinance 2024-01 can be reviewed in Attachment 2. This is the second reading of the ordinance. At the first reading of the ordinance, 2024-01, several members of the mountain bike community voiced disagreement with the language for Rule 47.02 regarding prohibition of e-bikes within the forest. The mountain bike community also attended the March 20th Park and Recreation Committee meeting and has provided information regarding the different classes of e-bikes as well as recommendations for policy/rule language that would include allowing use of Class 1 and 2 e-bikes on forest trails. A chart outlining the different e-bike classes can be viewed in Attachment 3. Staff feels that the formation of the McKinleyville Community Forest Standing Committee is critical to the development and management of the forest. As such, staff recommends that ordinance 2024-01 be approved as is so the district can move forward with the formation of the committee as soon as possible. Making substantive edits to ordinance number 2024-01, first read at the March 6th Board of Directors meeting, would delay the process of forming the Forest Standing Committee, as it would require an additional reading before being adopted. Staff understands the mountain biking community's desire to have Rule 47.02 changed in order to allow certain use of certain classes of e-bikes within the forest, but also feels that a broader community of potential forest users has not yet been heard from at this point. Draft 4702 was discussed at length by the park on March 20th. Park member Charlie Caldwell moved to recommend the MCSD board accept ordinance 2024-01 as written at the April 4 Board of Directors meeting, so tonight, with direction to the park and staff to draft an ordinance revising Rule 47.02 to include language allowing Class 1 and 2 e-bikes on the forest, or in the forest. to be presented at the MCSD Board of Directors for a first reading at the May 1st, 2024 regular board meeting. The motion and recommendation was unanimously agreed upon by the park members present. And if you also flip over to page 93, it is in the notes that it will be, that the Rule 4702 will be on the agenda for the April 17th park meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Greg?
The staff recommends
Oh,
the
I'm
board
sorry.
review information provided, discuss, take public comment, and approve the second reading of ordinance number 2024-01 by title only.
Okay, thank you very much. Greg?
Yeah, for just specific to the staff notes, so for clarification for myself and the rest of the board, so it says here that Charlie Caldwell moved to recommend the MCSD board accept. So was the recommendation by the whole park to recommend the acceptance, or okay.
Yeah, so Charlie made the motion, the park committee.
Okay, and the park approved
Voted
it,
and
the park
approved it,
approved it.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there was a vote. We were both at the meeting, Pat and I, and Charlie, of course, who will likely be up to the microphone to speak. Okay, is there any other comment or discussion by the board this time? By staff? Okay, we'll open it up to the public. On Zoom, if you have a comment, please step to the microphone, state your name, where you live.
Hi, my name's Kevin Creed. My wife and I have been residents of McKinleyville since '91, so we're still newbies by McKinleyville standards. We both are avid hikers and cyclists, so we look forward to the forest and certainly commend the district for all the work ahead. With regards to e-bikes, e-bikes do not pose any unique hazards that are not otherwise posed by regular bikes. It's bike rider bad behavior that's the primary risk to other trail forest users. Therefore, the bike rider behavior should be regulated and not focused on prohibiting any class of bikes, E or otherwise. Class 1, 2 bikes should be allowed where non-electric bikes are allowed, and e-bikes should be not allowed where other bikes are prohibited. It should be the same for both. Additional risk reduction, that is to other forest users, can be achieved through separation of trails. Bikes only, equestrian hikers only, posting of informational boards at trailheads, so there's an educational component, development of trail riding etiquette, safety procedures. Some of that was discussed at the park meeting. Outreach training for beginner novice riders. It's like, how do you ride appropriately? Other jurisdictions that allow Class 1, Class 2 e-bikes include certainly Arcata Community Forest, Santa Clara County Parks that has 28 parks. They allow Class 1, Class 2 at all those. City of Flagstaff, Arizona, Maricopa County, Arizona, Boulder County, Colorado, Jefferson County, Colorado, the California state parks and the national parks allow them given the individual park superintendent approval. One example is Henry Coe State Park east of Morgan Hill, huge park, they allow bikes. So again, kudos to Park for their efforts. I have submitted some draft ideas on how 4702 could be amended and another part added. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Creed. Your participation is appreciated. This time I'd like to recognize Mark Schaffner, who is joining us on Zoom this evening. Go ahead, Mark.
Hi, I just want to say thank you for their service, and I would support separate trails for Class 1 bikes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to this issue at this time?
Hello, everyone. My name is Grant Doty. I live here in McKinleyville on Wolf Road, across the way here. The thing I'd like to speak about this issue on is what it does to create access for people in our community who have mobility issues. I myself had an injury that rendered my right leg pretty much useless for several months. I couldn't walk without crutches. However, I could ride an e-bike, and it was a DIY one that I built myself, mainly to get through the injury I was having. What I'd like to say is that did just wonders for my mental health and my physical health. It got me outside and allowed me to access the greenway here. And so I think it would be unfair to have a restriction that would impede other people who have maybe permanent mobility issues or our aging population in this community not have access to this community forest. And that's all I'd like to say.
Thank you very much. If there's anyone else who wishes to speak, please come up to the microphone, state your name, where you live, and say what you have to say.
So, Charlie Caldwell, also a park member. I just appreciate this group of bikers that all showed up at the park meeting, supporting this change and the process that Pat and Leslie and the board working towards just fixing this one thing. And so we're really hoping that you guys allow us to do what we asked, where the park can bring this to the May meeting. And by June, that opens our forest up for these electric Class 1 and 2 bikes. So it's our recommendation. I understand completely how important it is to get this community forest team put together right now. So it's probably one of the highest priorities for our forest right now. Once this team's together, then we can start all of these concerns, not just these people's concerns, but all the other people that have an interest in our community forest. That's why we need this team put together. So there's going to be a lot of discussion in those meetings. So, and you guys will probably get to hear a lot about that. So anyway, thank you guys.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Step on up, state your name, where you live.
Hello, my name is Lyle. I live here in McKinleyville. This is written as from calbikes.org. This is kind of like a website that kind of sifts through all the legal terminology behind like your enforcement, right? So CHP or California state law. So this statement says e-bikes are to be operated like conventional bicycles in California and are not considered motor vehicles under the California Vehicle Code. Such as e-bikes in California are exempted from various laws and requirements that apply to motorcycles and automobiles. And then I have another one. Let me see. So here's kind of what City of Arcata says. Electric bicycles are known as e-bikes, are bicycles with an integrated motor and battery that provides extra propulsion. This added motorized power enables riders to ride longer and more frequently. E-bikes also benefit riders who may be discouraged from traditional bicycles due to convenience, age, limited physical fitness, and durability or disability and or injury. And all this was revised in 2015 and then 2021, I believe. The motorized vehicle law was from the 1960s, I believe. So the California has already revised all that in recent times for recent, bicycles that didn't exist back when that law originally was written. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else? No one else? Okay. I don't see anyone else. Is there any? Oh, we have one more coming. Okay. Oh, probably, yeah. Yes, sir.
for educating me, and I believe that the bike should be allowed. And as this one gentleman said, it's not the bike, it's the behavior of the person riding the bike. And so that could go with people riding horses. If they're crazy on their horse, that's dangerous. People walking their dogs, they're not going to keep them on leash. That can be dangerous. So it's not so much the bike or the horse or the dogs, it's the people's behavior is what we have to monitor and try to make rules for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Twyla. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Hey, hello, board. Thanks for listening to all the comments. My name's Kevin Dawson. I'm a resident here in McKinleyville, have been for about 7 years. I live off of Sutter Road. I'm a single dad, raising an 11-year-old, paying a mortgage, and we moved to McKinleyville because of all of the great resources for the youth around here. Baseball, basketball, soccer. We got the skate park. We've got these great parks, the Hiller Park, the Hammond Trail. Luckily, my son has no limitations, but he does have friends that do, and it would be really, why limit, we talk about ADA compliance and access for all, why limit access to our new community forest? It's gonna be an awesome, that's one of the reasons we moved here. We knew about the biking trails, and we were hoping, we wouldn't have to ride them illegally forever, and it's happening. It's amazing. And some of his friends have conditions that do limit some of their physical activity, but allowing e-bikes would present a whole new sort of umbrella for kids to get out. And, you might you might light a fire in somebody that would get into conservation, stewardship, Parks and Rec, and really love the outdoors. And that's why we live here, because we love the outdoors. We want the access, and I think that letting e-bikes on in the forest would really be beneficial to some of the younger kids that do have access issues and limitations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Anyone on Zoom? No? Okay. Are there any comments from the board?
Just to Twyla's comments, I appreciate that very much. For many, many, many years, many of us in the OHV community said the same thing to deaf ears. You're not having deaf ears here. I just wanted to make that comment.
Okay. Are there any other comments? Okay. Director Beitman?
Several people have commented that that's not the bicycle. It's the behavior. And as I said, and I listened to that, I wonder if anybody has any suggestions on how to regulate the behavior. Because in the perception of many people, the device brings the behavior. And I don't think that necessarily follows. But we're going to have to grapple with the issue of how do we regulate behavior. And one person has made the suggestion of separate. Give them their own place to play, give them their own trails. And that way we won't have overlap of different potentially incompatible uses. So I invite this community, and I assume you're here because you're seriously interested in this and hope it happens, to consider that and to give us some input on what is the best way to manage the behavior. And I say we have one suggestion already, and I appreciate that suggestion, and I've seen it at work in the Arcata Community Forest, and it seems to be reasonably effective. But are there other suggestions on how to ultimately regulate the behavior of people who are riding on a bicycle that's capable of a high rate of speed to have safety? So I just want to push back. It's not a pushback. I just want to make a request or a plea for suggestions on how to control and regulate the behavior. So thank you for your input, and thank you for your suggestions. And I want to echo what was just said. This doesn't fall on deaf ears.
Hey, thank you, Director Beitman. Director Orsini.
Yeah, thank you. So thanks everybody who for showing your support by showing up here, and then thank you to everybody that came to the podium and testified. I very much appreciate it to help us understand and make the right decision when the time comes for us to be able to decide this. Very pertinent to me that it was brought up that it's not the device, it's the person. Boy, that could be spread out over a lot of different things that happen in our community, in our world today. So my feelings about that had to change a little bit because of how I feel about other things. That yes, you're absolutely right. This is about the device and not about the people. But I, as one of five on this board, when this comes back for us to decide, I think there's going to have to be more than just a line that says that E1 in Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes are allowed in the forest. I think that we're going to need some sort of expectations included in that of what the proper etiquettes are and what the behaviors are that will be acceptable and what will be unacceptable. Because it doesn't take a lot of looking on Facebook to the McKinleyville community page, to the whatever our page that we have here, and the constant complaints on the Hammond Trail about the abuse of e-bikes on the Hammond Trail. Not the e-bikes, the people that are riding the e-bikes. So we don't want to find ourselves in that same situation. So it's going to be very helpful that we can create an avenue and a place for people to be able to go and use those bikes in a safe and constructive manner, and give them the criteria that they're going to need, the behaviors that are going to be acceptable and the behaviors that aren't going to be acceptable, so that they know right up front of what it is. And not only will that keep the people that are using the trails for other reasons safe, it will help you guys and girls help us to police that, and so that we can keep it safe by, it'll basically give you parameters so that you can say, that's not acceptable here, please go somewhere else or change your behaviors. And because that's going to be an important part of this, because we're not going to be there every single day. And we definitely don't want to see it become an issue to the point to where this place is filled with way more than what's here today, saying we don't want the e-bikes on our trails anymore. So so it's going to take work with all of us making sure that we create a policy that that gives direction and then also allows us to be able to this is sustainable. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the board? I'd just like to thank the people who came out to speak to this for participating in the process. You know, government is better because of your participation, so thank you very much. Okay, is there any comment from staff? Okay, we have another person who wants to make a public comment. Please step up to the microphone.
My name is Lyle again. Biteman requested that suggestion for regulating kind of how the trails would work. So what Arcata does is they put a 2x4 at the beginning and ending of each trail that designates what that trail is used for. So hiking trails, you know, shows a hiker, horses or mountain bikes. They're all designated. So like if there's a one-way mountain bike trail at the start and the end, shows that it's mountain bikes only with the hiker with the cross out, or you know, so on, kind of doesn't. So you're not going to get a hiker going the wrong direction up a mountain bike hill, you know, and somebody's coming down. They're at the start and the finish. Also, there's triangles at all the trailheads throughout the forest too, talking about the right of way. So the you know, multi-use access trails, more or less, that have, you know, horseback riders, mountain bike riders, and hikers. There's a triangle that they use that horses get the most amount of right of way, hikers yield to the horses, and mountain bikers yield to all of them. And so that works really well because, you know, and according to the employee that was at the Parks and Rec meeting, he said that there's been great success with that outline. It works really well for them. You know, he said that they don't really hear too much, you know, accidents happen, but it seems to be a lot less than you would imagine in their community forest. So, and what I want this to be is McKinneyville's very first tourist destination. People travel from all over and they end up in Arcata and Blue Lake, and, you know, not so much here because they're pirate trails or whatever. So hopefully with the Ford, you know, they're gonna end their day there and then go to our restaurants and stores and stuff like that. So
Okay,
that's all that.
thank you very much. Okay, should anyone else have any suggestions or to allay the concerns that Director Biteman had, or have recommendations in order to? I was going to mention that the Park and Rec Committee would be the place to voice those suggestions, as they'll be forming the policy. But Charlie, take it away.
I just want to say, yes, the Parks and Rec group we are going to look at this, and right now, to even do the trails out there, that's part of it is, where are those trails? It all has to be a process that's going to take place, okay? So we're not there yet, but we're getting there, okay? All these trails still have to be established and officially marked for us to be out there and do what you're asking us to do safely. What we're trying to do is get there as summer comes along with a group of people, with the groups of people that are actually out there working right now, trying to make this happen. So I appreciate your concerns. You see these people sitting in this room, they're the ones that are going to govern what the riders are doing out there. And they do it very well. They're not only teaching people the proper way of riding, they're going to see the wrong activity out there, be in the forest, and be the ones that are making these corrections.
Hey, thank you very much. We're seeing that at the skate park right now, thanks to your leadership and the leadership of your people on the collective. Okay, is there any other comment?
I'll move per staff recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Joey, would you please call the roll?
President Bender,
Yes.
Director Biteman,
Yes.
Director Couch,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
and Director Orsini.
Yes.
Thank you. Second reading passes. And we'll likely see you all next month. And thank you once again for coming out and participating in your government. Okay, item E2, review Parks and General Fund draft operating budget fiscal year 2024-25, and this is informational only, presented by Kirsten Messmer.
Thank you. The budget was developed based on current costs, trends, and best estimates based on historical data and experience. Costs incurred by the district typically fall into one of two categories: fixed costs and volumetric costs. For the Parks and General Fund operating budget, the expected revenue for programs is projected to be less than the projected revenue for the 2023-24 year based on current actual program revenues to date. Facility rental revenue in the current fiscal year is higher than the projected budget projections, and staff anticipates similar facility rental revenues in fiscal year 24-25. There is also a $1.3 million budgeted in the grant revenue for the construction of the BMX park. For the purposes of this draft, the salary and benefits costs are based on methodologies agreed upon during the last employee negotiations. Other operating costs have increased due to higher activity levels and inflation. In 2023, the property owners of McKinleyville voted to increase the Measure B assessment amount. The 2024-25 draft Measure B budget is based upon revenues projected in the 2024-25 engineer's report for the Measure B assessment district renewal and establishment of increased assessment. Given that the Measure B fund is currently showing a deficit of over $659,000 or $659,000 as reported in the 2022-23 audit, staff did not budget the entirety of the projected Measure B revenues to operations and maintenance in fiscal year 24-25, as it is intended that some of the projected revenue will go towards paying down the existing deficit. The table below summarizes the estimate of the district's fixed costs as well as anticipated cost increase compared to the prior year. At the time of this writing, this report, the estimates for health insurance costs for the next fiscal year were not yet available. These costs are incorporated into the Parks and Recreation operating budget and will similarly be incorporated into the operations budget to be presented at the board meeting in May. Then you guys have your table there, which I'm not going to read. Questions from the directors on any category item or on the budget overall are welcome. The finalized budget will be presented to the board for approval in June. And the recommendation is that staff recommends that the board review, take public comment, and discuss the draft, all in caps, operating budget for the Parks/General Fund and Measure B Fund.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. We'll take it back to the board for discussion. Any member of the board wish to make a comment or have any questions? Okay.
Yeah, I guess I have them.
Okay.
Thanks a lot to staff for putting together the budget. I know it's tough, and trying to make ends meet is a tough process. I very much appreciate having watched these budgets for many years, the work that goes into making what we need to get done fit within the limitations of the cash we have available. So it's definitely not lost on us. The work that the Parks and Rec staff is doing and management's doing to make this all pencil out. So thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Anyone else? Jim?
I want to echo Greg's thanks, and I want to add to it, as a relatively new member of the board, I greatly appreciate the clarity with which you've presented it. I don't have the history to go back and see what it was a long time ago, or even 2 or 3 years ago. So the way in which you have presented it gives me a good view of not only where we are, but where you see us going in this next budget year, and I greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Anyone else have any comments? Staff? Members of the public, including on Zoom? Okay, that's that. Thank you very much for reporting on that. Okay, item, let's see. E3, initiate process for general manager's performance evaluation. This will be presented by Board Secretary Joey Blaine.
Thank you, President Bender. As noted in the General Manager Employment Agreement, the Board shall review and evaluate the General Manager's performance at least annually in advance of the anniversary date of the effective date of the General Manager Agreement, Attachment 1. During an open public meeting, the Board President will select one Board member to consolidate all 5 Board member evaluations. Once a member of the Board has been selected, a schedule should be established, suggested dates in bold, which includes date to complete and return sealed evaluations to the Board Secretary, April 12th. Date the appointed consolidator will retrieve the evaluations, April 15th. Date for review information to be returned to the Board Secretary for confidential distribution, April 23rd. And a date for the closed session for the General Manager's performance evaluation, May 1st. At tonight's meeting, the Board Secretary will provide all 5 members with an evaluation form and an envelope to seal and return the form once complete, which you received in your packets. An electronic version of the evaluation form is available if requested. The Board will fill out the evaluations and provide them to the Board Secretary at the district office in the sealed envelope in accordance with the schedule. The Board members selected to consolidate the evaluations will be notified by the Board Secretary that the evaluations by Board members are completed and ready to pick up. The evaluations will be consolidated by averaging each section and combining any written comments, so there will be 1 evaluation from the Board and 1 evaluation from the department heads. The Board Secretary shall distribute the 360 performance evaluation, Attachment 3, to the department heads, collect, consolidate, and distribute the evaluations to the Board as part of the May 1st Board packet. To finish at a properly noticed public meeting, the Board will convene a closed session to review the consolidated evaluation with the General Manager for the purpose of discussing the General Manager's performance. Staff recommends that the Board discuss, take public comment, and ask the Board President to select one Board member to consolidate all Board member evaluations and set a schedule.
Okay, thank you, Joey. Okay, I guess the first thing that we need to do is I need to ask the other 4 Board members here if the 4 dates that are suggested are amenable to you for carrying out this process. Is there any objections to that, guys? Okay. Now, I'll ask for a volunteer to aggregate the evaluations. Anyone want to do it?
My friend to the right suggested I volunteer. I'm willing to do it.
Thank you.
I was. Maybe not
Oh,
now.
You know what, Director Byman, thank you very much for stepping up and taking on this role. If we didn't have any volunteers, we were going to appoint the new guy anyway. After all, they did it to me.
Yeah, well, I think I just saved you that distasteful task.
Okay, thank you very much. I assume that's all that's required for this item. Perfect. Yes, Greg.
Yeah, could you email me the electronic one?
Yes, sir.
That way I can utilize spell check. I don't have to use a dictionary or a pen. And also, could we get copies of the last year's strategic plan?
Yes, those have been provided to you in front of your microphones this
Right here in
evening.
paper, Greg.
Oh, I got so much stuff here. Thank you.
Certainly.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving along. We have active committee reports. Parks and Rec Committee, that would be me. Okay, much of the meeting was in regard to the proposed e-bike regulatory amendments that we covered in agenda item E1, as public comments during the park meeting were numerous and extensive. I don't think I've ever seen that many people crammed in that little conference room.
It was cozy, huh?
It was very cozy. The cycling committee turned out and they were heard. And other than that, I have no additional comment to add to Director Frisbee's report as printed. Okay, McKinleyville Area Fund, that would once again be me. We did not meet. We plan on meeting next month. So expect to hear a report out next month. Item C, REDEC, that would be Mr. Beitman.
REDAC did not meet. They were unable to get a quorum for the meeting, so the meeting was canceled.
Okay, McKinleyville Senior Center Board Liaison, once again, WA. We're just busy doing our regular thing, training a few new hostesses in response to our latest call of opportunity to serve. We now have volunteers to not only cover our regular weekly shifts, but also back up people to step in should our regular volunteers not be able to cover a shift for whatever reason. And this would include a new 94-year-old woman with an amazing personality and equally amazing stories. She's got some really good stories of times in the late 40s and early 50s. We did have our Spring Fling open house and plant sale on March 25th, and we had a lot of people stop by who have never visited our center. And several have come back since to participate in our programming, which was the entire goal of our event. It looks like we might inherit a senior mental health support group that is currently meeting at Open Door McKinleyville. For various reasons, they need a new home base. And I was actually in the process of putting together one myself, but now it looks like we're getting a built-in program, so that's just a bonus. They'll meet likely in the late afternoon or early evening after our normal operating hours so that they can have their privacy, and we'll be able to accommodate them without any changes to our facility usage agreement with MCSD. And we're still having fun every day, fulfilling our motto, sharing and caring. Okay, Audit and Finance Committee, Greg or Jim?
I don't believe that we met since our last meeting, did we? Or did we?
No, you didn't have a formal committee meeting. You helped with the interviews for our new finance director, but
That's right, yeah, okay. No meeting.
Okay, no meeting. Employee negotiations, Mr. Couch or Mr. Mayo?
we have had no meeting.
You've had no meeting.
For those of you who don't know, we have an outstanding agreement with the employees of how much, they get a little raise each year. And they seem to be happy. I saw it was cited in one of the reports earlier.
Okay then. Mick Mack, Director Orsini.
We did meet, and so we had a very spirited meeting. We discussed the town center ordinance and where we're at in the EIR process. Director Ford was there to basically go through the town center ordinance current draft with us. There were still questions about the streets and how that's going to all work out, Central and Hiller. But I think it's going along pretty good, and I would expect that the EIR will be around sometime in late summer, August area, when it'll go out for public comment. The notice of the NOI, notice of intent, is that what the NOI is? NOI? That's notice of, that's okay, I can't, it's anyway, it's the notice, it's NOI, and it's available on the county's website under the McKinleyville Area Plan, if you'd like to go look at that. It's very informative, and I think it's if you're interested in all in what's going on with the town center ordinance, it's something that you should probably look at. We also had a discussion on on quick build project on Hiller Road. That would be, basically, it's part of the implementation of, for Safe Streets for All. And it's a conceptual way of putting on pavement, using paint and using non-permanent devices to kind of give you a feel about what's planned to be put out on the streets. I think they're going to use it first on Hiller, but I think when plans start for what's going to happen on Central Avenue, I think it would be a great way for the people of McKinleyville to see, to get a feel for what Central Avenue is going to be like, if there's going to be any modifications or when there are modifications to Central Avenue. So expect to see that. We were pretty adamant with staff that, and so this is very early on in the planning stages for what's going to happen on Hiller. There's no discussions on anything for Central Avenue, just to quell any fears about that. But before anything happens you won't like wake up one morning and Hiller Road will be painted and have barricades and things like that. There'll be a public process. The McMac is very adamant about the fact that we hope that the county would include the McKinleyville community in any sort of modifications that might happen on Hiller Road. The nominations for the McMac appointee for the McKinleyville Community Forest Advisory Committee were made, and the primary will be Maya Conrad, and the alternate will be Kevin Dreyer. So that's all set. So we've got some more formal members for the formal committee. And then we just had some subcommittee reports that I'm not going to go into for the sake of getting out of here before 8 o'clock. Any questions from anybody? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
Did I get everything? Good. That. Lisa? Thank you.
Okay, Community Forest Ad Hoc Committee. Director Mayo or Orsini?
I think the number one thing to talk about is our grand kickoff celebration, which was well attended by everybody, and nice to have Senator McGuire there, and nice to get his continuing commitment to help with our future needs. And I think good Lord blessed us with about an hour's worth of decent weather.
And one promising thing when we were talking to Senator McGuire about the plan for the forest plan, he actually asked us how much.
Absolutely.
So that's a good sign when your elected officials ask you how much. That means that there's a possibility that we might have some money coming our way for that.
And
either that or he just did that because Dennis and I had him each by one arm, and we're.
Well, what was extra nice was what Greg and I were easing up to amount. He kind of doubled it on his own.
Yeah.
Which was pretty nice.
Yeah. I started at the low end and was working them in $10,000 increments up to, and he finally said, well, $1 million would probably be enough. Exactly.
That's exactly what we need to start.
And we also had a community forest subcommittee meeting, or ad hoc committee meeting, whatever it is. We basically got the date. We got the dates down for the process for putting out the applications to fill the rest of the committee seats. And I believe the applications will be circulated on April 4th, tomorrow. So basically after this meeting, I believe Kirsten will pull the trigger on getting the applications ready. They'll be available on the internet electronically, and they'll also be available in hard copy. So the ones on the internet that's like a form fill
So you'll be able to fill that out and email it right back?
Yes, there'll be a Google form
Okay, a Google
version
form,
and
yeah.
then a paper version as well.
And
That
then a
will also
paper
be a
version.
fillable PDF.
And
So-
if people want to get access to that, they can call the office or stop in the office and get one, or they can.
Yep, and
print
I'll
one
also
out.
upload it to the community forest page on our website.
Okay, or you can go in, yeah, for us people that would rather go in and get one in person, or you can download it and print it and fill it out and have it back in. The applications will be circulated on 4th tomorrow, and they'll be due back by May 10th for consideration by this board to make the appointments. As it's written in the ordinance we passed tonight, our board will be taking the recommendations and codifying those with an action vote. And that's all I had.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Okay, is there anything else we need, Dennis, on the?
No, on the ad hoc, no.
Okay, great. We'll move along to legislative and regulatory reports. Does anyone have anything on that?
I do, but let's, anybody else?
Dennis, I want to apologize. I owe you a briefing on that one piece of legislation,
Yeah.
and it slipped in my mind.
That's fine, you can give me a call or
Okay.
whatever, yeah.
I will.
Yeah. And it was significant.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely, yes.
Yeah. And we'll talk about that. I don't mean to be vague about it, but it's something that we don't have ferreted out yet to talk about. And on my end, on the 10th, I'm going to Sacramento for our legislative symposium, our annual legislative symposium, and we'll be meeting with a host of representatives and stuff. And then there's so much legislation, but it's all kind of just in the hopper going. There's no sense in even really trying to pin anything down yet about most of it. But I wanted to say one thing. The snowpack survey was done today or yesterday. The Sierra snowpack is at 113%, which is excellent, and we're happy about that. But last year it was 210%. So we had quite a little bit more snow last year. Maybe we'll get a little more, but it looks like our water woes are going to be somewhat mitigated for this season.
Well, that last storm put us over 100%, didn't it?
Well, we're at 113%
But
right now.
I mean, that last storm.
Yes.
It would have been below if it wasn't for that last storm.
We had went up, and then when we had the warm rain, it came down, and then it came back up. And hopefully, it's pretty cold today, I think. Maybe it's going to snow again. So anyway, that's my 2 cents worth.
Okay.
Going to a meeting, is that an aqua meeting down in Sacramento?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and CSDA's is towards the end of May. Same basic purpose.
And I had 3 aqua meetings today on the internet all day.
Okay, if that's it for legislative and regulatory reports, we'll move on to staff reports. Starting with Finance and Administration Department, Interim Director Trask.
Good evening, good evening. Most of the updates, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
Right on. Most of the updates you already know. We've requested an extension for the single audit, and it's been bounced through multiple state agencies, and finally we requested it of the US EPA. Haven't heard back from that yet, but we're assuming that we'll get it, or at least some kind of extension. The audit itself is complete. The budget schedule we reviewed earlier. The State Controller's Office annual compensation report was submitted. The deadline's not until April 30th, but we got it done earlier. And then, yeah, and then we've had multiple rounds of interviews for the new finance director. So you won't have to look at my smiling face too many more meetings. And just a general thing, thanks to Kirsten, who did an absolutely fabulous job presenting the draft operating budget. Good job.
Thanks.
That's it for me.
Okay, thank you, Colleen. Operations Department, Director Henry.
Have nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Parks and Rec Department, Kirsten.
I also have nothing to add.
Nobody's adding anything. Mr. General Manager, Pat.
I just wanted to add that they finished pouring the floor for the 4.5 million gallon tank yesterday. So that's done. They'll be stripping off forms for the floor and then setting up forms for the walls and starting to pour the first section of the walls here, depending on weather, in a couple weeks. I think I am gonna, once we get that first form closer to being finalized, we're gonna set up the meeting to have the board go up and take a look at that. They'll have the crane up there setting stuff, and we can take a look at it all. The other thing I wanted to touch on is, speaking of our new finance director, we did go through an extensive search and interviewed a number of very qualified candidates, and she'll get introduced more formally next board meeting, but Samantha Howard sitting in the back here, so wanted to point her out as well. And I know she's going to be great. Other than that, I have nothing further to add.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. And thanks for joining us, Ms. Howard. Okay.
Yes, welcome.
Okay, F4 President's Report. Since we've last met, I've had the privilege and honor of a few different things. On March 22nd, I attended the McKinleyville Chamber of Commerce Members Choice Awards dinner and was privileged to receive on behalf of the district the 2024 Members Choice Award for Excellence in Community Service. Excellent job, staff. What's that, 2 years in a row now?
Yep.
Repeat.
Go for the hat trick.
Okay. My beloved wife, Christina, who's in the crowd tonight, she wanted to see where I worked one night a month. Anyway, yeah, we were honored with this year's Azalea Award, which is probably the pinnacle of honor that our community could bestow upon one of their own. So, and we're both very grateful. Additionally, I attended the ribbon cutting for our new McKinleyville Community Forest, along with Senator Mike McGuire, executives from Green Diamond, the board and staff from the MCSD and the Chamber of Commerce. I got to cut the ribbon, and half of the ribbon that I got went right into my memories box. That's a real big deal for me, and I'll treasure that. Okay, I've also been working with Aqua on their Quench California public outreach campaign, and you'll see more of that in our social media and in print as we move forward. That's also a pretty big deal. Next Friday, I'll be attending the CSDA Special District Resilience Summit, where the topics will be advanced clean fleets regulations, zero-emission vehicles funding resources, hazard mitigation plans with State Fire Marshal Daniel Berlant with CAL FIRE, and the keynote speaker will be Assembly Member Chris Holden, who is the chair of the Assembly Select Committee on Regional Transportation Solutions. So it should be rather interesting, and I'll have something to report out about that come our next board meeting. I was just going to say that's next Friday. And if you want any more information, Joey can hook you up with it, because that's how I heard about it. Am I correct, Joey? You did send that out? Or did I pick that up off of the?
As much as I'd love to take credit for that, I think you may have picked that up from a CSDA email. But I can send that information out to the board at whole. I will dig that up and have it sent out tomorrow.
Okay, I think I know where it came from
Yeah,
too.
it was in the thing we get from the CSDA.
Yeah, it was on the,
One of those pushes.
okay. All right, so that may have been where it came from. Okay. Okay, great. Well, that's,
You have a convertible for riding in the McKinleyville?
we are actually going to be chauffeured by Wes and Teresa Green in their Model A. So he came up with that offer that evening, so I thought that was pretty cool. Since my first option was to be on a horse and Christina on a pony, and she shot that down like a Palestinian missile heading towards Jerusalem. Anyway, okay, F5.
Too soon, Scott, too soon.
Board members' comments.
Yeah, well, those guys are figuring that out. The only comment I have is, have a California Special Districts Association Finance Committee meeting, tomorrow in Sacramento, and then on Friday, we have our April, CSDA board meeting. So, I'll be down in Sacramento, tomorrow and Friday, coming home Friday night. But, not a whole lot on the agenda. It's pertinent, just regular business of CSDA.
Okay, any other board member comments? Okay, announcements, reports, and agenda items requests. That's going to be handled. Okay, I'd like to now recognize on Zoom Supervisor Madrone. Are you here, sir?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Great. Thank you, President Bender. Nothing to add. Good meeting and appreciate all the hard work that the CSD staff and board do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else, anything else from anyone else? Okay, with that, I'll call for a motion to adjourn the meeting.